All right, looks like we got the finals here. So Kyle versus Adrian. Adrian unfortunately lost the pair down last round, but still made it to the finals. Kyle playing his bug list. I gotta think that Kyle is favored here. I mean, he's got the main deck Abrupt Decays, the Trigon Predator, Steel Sabotage. You know, Adrian can dump his hand turn one, but he's only going to have one or two permanents that actually matter. Because 1/1s versus 1/2s.
I would actually take Adrian's list if I had to choose here. I think the major difference is Kyle not having access to Null Rod. If Kyle was running Null Rod, it would really change things because that would shut off the Skull Clamp, it would shut off the Arcbound Ravager. I look at it as Adrian's list is more powerful in terms of what it can do. Okay. Kyle is really looking to play a fair game, so we'll see how that plays out. If Kyle can force a fair game, then those one-for-one trades become very relevant.
Okay.
If Adrian's able to just go ballistic, then who cares what he Abrupt Decays? It doesn't matter. If Adrian's able to open up with a Genesis Chamber and an Arcbound Ravager and generate tokens, he blows up a Ravager. So what? Something else gets the tokens. He blows up the Genesis Chamber? Well, I'll sack it in response. I mean, there's just so much value that Adrian can get at every turn. So it'll be very interesting to see. Plus, you got to remember, Kyle does have some dead cards in his list. Something like Flusterstorm, totally useless. So we'll see. Kyle's got a lot of experience. I think he's got the most coverage from the TheEndStep so far in these. He's been all around the finals in pretty much every one of these tournaments. And Adrian, I think, has had a lot more success on bigger stages. So both players very accomplished, and this should be an excellent finals.
Awesome. Did they already? Do we know who's on the play?
I did not, but I did not see, but we'll find out very quick. Let's see how selective they are with their opening hands. Kyle does have some dead cards. That does tend to lend itself toward mulliganing, toward a better hand. If you've got, 7 with a dead card and it's not that good, really not that different from going to 6. And you only have the Singleton Brainstorm, so it's not like you've got a ton of options there. Opening up with the turn 1 Deathrite, pretty typical for Kyle's list.
Yep.
Nothing really insane it does on the first turn aside from plays that involve Black Lotus or Ancestral and some more acceleration.
Yeah.
I think the best case scenario is probably turn 1 Dark Confidant, get that card drawing going right away, but this is some mana, and I don't know how familiar Kyle is with this list. So we've got a Workshop. Adrian actually lost on the first turn last round. That was the first time we've seen that, right?
Yeah, I think that was our first turn 1 win on video coverage.
Yeah, so if you didn't see that video, definitely check it out. Sorry to spoil it for you, but it's still exciting to watch. Turn 1 from Warren, really going nuts there, doing all of the best stuff. Now, Revoker partially shutting off Deathrite Shaman here. Not going to hit the mana ability, correct? Or is it, no,
yeah, it hits mana ability.
It hits mana. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so really just turns him into the 1/2.
Pithing Needle actually also gets Deathrite Shaman because it's not directly a mana ability. It's an ability which exiles the land from the graveyard and then creates a mana. I'm not exactly sure how to explain it, but
well, yeah, it doesn't. It uses the stack, so I guess that would be different. Yeah,
I've seen people stifle it as well.
Oh, that's yeah, because you definitely respond with the other Deathrites. I do that all the time in Legacy. I've been on Deathblade for quite a while. All right, we got Revoker coming in with Frogmite,
2, 4,
Signal
5,
Pest.
6 damage.
Just getting him out of there.
Tradesies.
Still comes in with 3 damage.
Taking 3 to the face.
And gets rid of that Deathrite. Sets him back. And Adrian has all of the mana. He can pretty much do whatever he wants here. Let's see what he follows it up with. Considering his plays carefully. Into a
Tangle Wire.
Very, very solid here.
Yep.
That's just brutal. Kyle's going to have a really hard time recovering from that.
Kyle has a Force of Will in his hand.
Oh, Steel Sabotage.
Works
there we go.
as well.
That's some value. Main deck value. Abrupt Decay, pretty good versus something like Tangle Wire. Depends on the spot.
Right.
If you're able to abrupt decay their Tangle Wire and prevent it from doing its damage, that's fine. But a lot of the time, you're so swamped that abrupt decay isn't really worthwhile. You certainly don't want to draw an abrupt decay after you're tapped out. That's just gross.
Mm-hmm. Another probably naming Deathrite Shaman again.
Yeah, Kyle really doesn't have a ton of great options. Jace the Mind Sculptor could be one, but he's not going to be anywhere near that until he gets a couple of more mana sources on board.
Right.
And we've got Strip Mine, Deathrite Shaman, Scavenging Ooze would be a card. Wasteland, but Wasteland not with Revoker.
Not with Revoker.
Not a Pithing Needle.
Yeah.
He really wants to be.
So we saw an TheEndStep Vamp. Is that going to find Ancestral, or does he have something better? Oh, a land.
Oh, no. Hope it's not a land.
I think it was an Underground Sea.
Oh, that's a really bad spot. I think he's thinking Trigon will get him there. That's the only reason I could see. I mean, Trigon would be a good card here because it would be able to block the Signal Pest and then start cracking back to eliminate guys on board.
Alright, so let's see what Kyle does here.
Where is Kyle's hand? There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got to be the Trigon.
Okay.
So, very, very conservative play to go get the land there. He had a high probability of drawing the land, and I guess he just didn't feel like he had enough time to vamp for Ancestral and see 3 more cards to try and hit the land. He really wanted it right now.
Which is fair because it's 6 damage coming across the table. So what's he going to block? The Signal Pest?
He's got to get the Signal Pest out of there.
Okay.
And then from here he can start cracking back.
Ravager.
Oh.
Spell Pierce. Force Will. Pitching a Spell Pierce.
And he's got the Tangle Wire. That's what that is with let's get it on 4. He's good.
Waste the factory, so Kyle's in a precarious situation here.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna get to untap there and start swinging. Adrian has nothing to follow.
So in Kyle's position, do you swing? You just block. You don't kill one of them.
No, that's
because he can play Duplicant, you know. If he untapped and played Duplicant, then he would just lose. I think he should have swung and.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of a reason why you wouldn't just swing there. I'm coming up blank.
Yeah. It just, I mean, I kind of understand his thought, where he's coming from, where it just does not feel safe to attack.
Well, the other thing is Adrian doesn't attack there, so Kyle is at 3.
Maybe he's considering Ravager. He drops Ravager, sacks a bunch of stuff, puts it on his 2/1.
Yeah, but you're still in a really bad spot.
Now he's alright.
Abrupt Decaying, Signal Pest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he really should just be attacking. You know, he would be down at 1 life. Oh, see, so now he's dead.
Yep.
No cards in hand. Okay. Boom, you're dead.
Yeah, that was I can't see any reason to play it that way. Granted, he would have taken 2 damage.
Yeah, he'd be at 1 life, but I think it still would have been the tighter play.
So if Adrian had dropped another guy, then if he swung again with the Trigon, then he would be dead. So I think that's the risk there.
Okay.
I think that's the risk. And
he did drop 2 more creatures, I think, right?
Yep.
So.
But if he ends up drawing extra, I guess that's a logically incorrect way of thinking about it, because if he draws another creature, you're still screwed.
You're still dead, yeah.
So that was really...
You have to go under the assumption that he's not going to draw the winning play.
Yeah, if he's going to win either way, then you can't really factor that into your reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he draws a guy, you're dead there. So yeah, swinging there would have been it, especially when you vamp for the land to get the Trigon.
Yeah. He's more than just a 2/3.
He is. He really, really is. And there's no protection from blue to worry about here either. So.
Yeah.
So we've got the sideboards, which we've touched on previously. Adrian has access to things like Witchbane Orb if he's worried about Hurkyl's Recall, and he has Phyrexian Metamorph, which is actually really good versus Trigon Predator. Makes another 2/3. They can just bounce off of each other.
Oh, yeah.
Dismember is going to be really good. And then for Kyle, he's got Nature's Claim, Hurkyl's Recall, and Dismember. Again, 1-for-1 trades versus Adrian's deck. Not usually amazing. It's probably, I mean, it's definitely better than a lot of the stuff Kyle has main deck.
Like Flusterstorm, Mental Misstep.
Yeah, Spell Pierce doesn't do a ton here either. There's a lot of creatures on the other side of the board. All of the counters are pretty situational, and that's kind of the thing you want to avoid when you can. Genesis Chamber can really run away with things, so spot removal is good for that.
But only if it's, only if you can get there on time.
Yeah, you've got to stop them from generating tokens. Ravager just makes such good use of all of those extra bodies. Yeah, the only other card that I'd be interested in seeing in Adrian's list, which I don't know if he's tested it at all, is Triskelion. And I think it's probably too much mana. It's kind of like a memory jar type card where it's just over the top. What that allows you to do is sacrifice all of your artifacts to Ravager, put them on Triskelion, and then just shotgun their face.
Yeah.
Which can be useful against board states where you can't effectively swing.
Because modular counters are +1/+1 counters?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how that works.
Yeah, it really is a good way to sidestep a lot of problems. But you look through his list, what would you cut? I mean, Steel Overseer is a very similar effect at a lot less mana.
Right.
You're going to generate a ton of value there if you've got a bunch of creatures. And it goes really well with the combo build of when you do Memory Jar into a full new hand and just go ballistic.
Okay. So Kyle's running, how many Wastelands are in his deck?
I think he just has, let's see, 3.
Yeah. So Kyle's got the 3 Wastelands. I guess it's like the point you brought up. Kyle's deck is going to be very reactive and fair, and Adrian has a lot of explosiveness that's pretty hard to answer. The one thing, though, that I do like about Kyle's deck versus Adrian's is Adrian's going to explode with a lot of permanents, but not too many of them are going to be hugely important. It's like a few key pieces, like the Ravager or the Skull Clamp or the Tangle Wire. Kyle can deal with 1/1s and Signal Pests.
Yeah, I think what ends up happening is something like Ravager. Yeah, it's important, but there's not a great way of dealing with it. Like, if you get rid of it, those modular tokens go somewhere else, and that's why it's so important. Something like Memory Jar, something that generates card advantage like Skull Clamp, it has to be handled before they get the card advantage. Handling it after is a non... I mean, you can't really handle Memory Jar after the fact, aside from drawing a fistful of counters.
Yeah.
That's really not going to be an effective way of making it happen. So he's got mana sources on Kyle's side of the table, and I see an Academy, which is very good for Adrian. I'll tell you, when you have Tolarian Academy with Gaia's Cradle and a Mishra's Workshop in play, it's almost like you're not even playing Magic. It's just so much mana. Your lands tap for so much. It's like 12 post in Legacy.
Yeah. All mana versus all mana.
Yeah.
Okay. So both players kind of in the same mulliganing position.
I don't know if they were comparing how much mana they both had there. Yeah, Adrian's list can recover from mulligans well. There are other times where you just draw Mem Knights.
Yeah.
It's really... The power level is very, very dependent on the synergy in between the cards, so much as the individual power of each card. Kyle's deck could mulligan down potentially to 2 or 3 and pull its way back in with an Ancestral Recall and go from there. Adrian's deck, much harder time. Really, at that point, you're relying very heavily on Skull Clamp to try and trade creatures, but the problem there is you don't have a lot of creatures to start with, so it's slow going.
But Adrian does have 4 Skull Clamps, and Kyle, I mean, what does he have for card advantage? Like, he has, I mean, besides his Dark Confidence, he has the 1 Ancestral, 1 Brainstorm, 1 Time Walk. So that's 3 cards.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jace, and,
okay.
Life from the Loam does change that dynamic. When you're able to get 3 cards back from the graveyard,
right,
and then Brainstorm and put 2 of them away, I mean, it starts to turn Brainstorm and Jace activations into Ancestral Recalls.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that, but if it gets to that point, Adrian's in a very bad spot. His deck is not designed to deal with end games like that. His deck is designed to end games.
Alright, so we got a turn 1 Misty Pass into a Wasteland Skull Clamp, which will meet a Misstep.
So the Misstep stayed in, probably specifically for Skull Clamp, so it did its job.
Yep.
It's a tough call when you're playing against it. You really have to figure out how many cards you really want to bring in, and then figure out whether or not the Missteps can survive. Because there are other targets as well. I mean, as I said before, you don't feel great about stopping a Signal Pest with a Misstep, but if he has a Ravager on board and you've stabilized, then it's pretty good. You definitely don't want to just let him dump all the counters on that guy and swing, because he's really hard to block.
So we got 3 mana.
Confidant.
Okay.
Some 1 toughness creatures in play here. Kyle's mana base looking very, very solid so far.
Yeah.
Staying away from the basics. Let's see what he's got for basics in here, actually.
0.
0 basics. Yeah, look at that. Really relying heavily on Deathrite Shaman to smooth out the mana problems. That is interesting. We really haven't seen him have too many mana difficulties on camera.
No.
Thinking back, I mean, Deathrite Shaman does a lot for that.
Yeah. So Adrian end-stepped Dismembered, which was met with a Force of Will, which is too bad for Adrian because with that Dark Confident in play, he's going to start to be able to, well, maybe it didn't matter because he's got all this mana now. And
a Lodestone.
And a Lodestone Golem. Snapcaster.
Really not good versus Lodestone Golem.
No.
Abrupt Decay doesn't get rid of that guy either. So Lodestone is a really good draw.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough spot for Kyle. Just passes the turn.
Yeah, now this is where if he brought in those Metamorphs, a Metamorph on Lodestone could be amazing.
Yeah.
Does run the risk of getting blown out by a Dismember, though. So very exciting. There's no way that he can cripple Kyle's mana base enough to make it so he can't even use Dismember, seeing as how you pay the 2 Phyrexian. Let's see where he goes with this. Definitely needs to be swinging.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, he's got the Snapcaster. That must be what he's thinking about, whether or not the double block with the Snapcaster would be acceptable.
Hurkyl's Recall.
Makes it a non-issue. Look at that. So pick him up and put him back down. You have been fogged.
So Adrian, starting with the Lodestone, bringing up the Memnite, pass.
You got to protect that Memnite. Make sure he can't force a will it.
Right.
We got a Deathrite Shaman. Yeah, Lodestone makes all of those tempo cards so much worse. Something like Deathrite Shaman, where usually you just kind of sneak them in there for 1 mana and don't even have to think about it. Now it's a very serious decision of whether or not you can actually afford to tap out for it.
Yeah, Nature's Claim.
Oh, Nature's Claim. So 4 life. That's actually a bit of a problem too with Nature's Claim. In this type of matchup, the 4 life is relevant. Yeah, you really don't want to be just giving Adrian 4 life for no reason. So it's got to be something good like a Lodestone Golem. You're not going to waste it on something like a Memnite. Whereas if it was an Ingot Chewer, you could potentially just throw him out there so you could start getting in there with your Dark Confidant.
So Adrian needs to start generating some card advantage, or he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose the grind.
Yeah, Dark Confidant is not a card that you want to be facing going, one card to two cards every turn. Even though Kyle's deck is not as powerful, this is what it's designed to do: is grind out games.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I am surprised about the lack of Null Rod. I don't think he's particularly needed it, but this is the type of deck where you would be very, very happy to have Null Rod, stopping all of their explosiveness. And your Deathrite Shaman's are going to make up for your lack of Moxes most of the time. So
There's
here,
a Ravager.
You'd get a 1/1. And a Revoker.
Okay.
So no damage.
3 cards. Seems good.
All day. Kyle really back on his heels here. Can't make any kind of swing, and he's going to be dealing with creatures coming his way.
Mm-hmm.
Every artifact Adrian draws effectively
more damage.
A +1/+1 counter on any of the creatures on his board that he wants. He's able to bump up the Ravager. Now, he's not going to be likely to pump up Ravager and then ship the counters over because he can get blown up by spot removal.
Yeah.
But in worst case scenario, it's definitely a play. More than likely, he's going to force Kyle to deal with the Ravager and then have to deal with the next creature as well.
Yeah, I mean, just one Abrupt Decay is not really going to solve the issue here.
Yeah, now
Signal Pest.
Yep, there we go. And now we know he has Snapcaster. So Snapcaster is going to be able to make double duty out of
Nature's Claim, Abrupt Decay.
I think Kyle with the block there may be looking to try and get a response out of Adrian to get some extra value.
Hmm.
Let's see what's going on here. Kyle looking to clear off his board.
Adrian considering all the possible sacrificial plays he could make.
Yeah, the Sapphire is very tempting. He's unlikely to need that. Not like he needs to actually pay the blue mana for the... There we go. Oh, interesting. Is he going to do this?
That seems like a lot. Especially when you know your opponent has Snapcaster. Yeah, he's not going to do that.
There we go. Now the Signal Pest. Very difficult to block. Now, did we see Abrupt Decay as well, or just the Nature's Claim this game?
We've only seen a Nature's Claim. So I think he has Abrupt Decay in his hand, though.
So yeah, we've got Snapcaster, which is going to be really, really solid. Oh, Steel Overseer.
Oh, the Overseer. Abrupt Decay.
Yeah, so Snapcaster and... Ooh, this is getting gruesome.
First Wasteland I've seen Kyle play today. He allows the untap with the Steel Overseer.
Wow. Gotta feel like that's a mistake. Did he go with Hercules? Is that what we're seeing? That looked like Hercules?
Oh yeah, well, I mean he can't replay anything.
Yeah, I mean he's at 20 life. He'll be replaying stuff.
Yeah.
That was definitely questionable. I think if he Snapcaster, blow up the Steel Overseer,
right,
and then he's got a Snapcaster versus a Memnite on board.
Yeah, that seems more favorable.
A lot safer. You know, Adrian's got a single land, not really going to be able to do much about what he draws, so he's offering up the trade here.
Adrian declines the trade. Well, it's the same clock, right?
Well,
both
yeah,
on a 10-turn clock.
To an extent. I mean, he's got the
Get the signal
The
pass.
signal pass.
Oh, another Snapcaster.
Misstep. Oh, Abrupt Decay.
Yeah.
Did he have a misstep in there from earlier?
Yes.
Yeah, the Skull Clamp. That probably would have been a much better.
Yeah, keep your
idea.
strict removal around so that if you draw more Snapcasters, they're more live.
Yeah. All right, so we got Snapcasters really doubling up the clock here. But we have the real killer in Adrian's hand. If he can draw a mana source, he's gonna have a problem. That guy's gonna really outclass Snapcasters in a hurry.
Oh, there it is.
That's a mana source. Here we go. Overseer.
Steel guy. Two steel guys.
Alrighty then.
Another Hercules recall.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be enough. I mean, 4 damage a turn. It's just not broken. We're going to see both Steel Overseers this upcoming turn.
Yeah.
And then they're both going to be active, so he's going to be able to make that Memnite a 3/3. Memnite's going to be just completely dominant over Kyle's board. And then, yeah. We're going to need to see another Hercules.
Alright.
Yeah, that's
crashing in.
Probably the last time.
Yeah. I mean,
barring the Hercules.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I mean, this is a really bad board now. Like that's a very interesting trade.
Scavenging Ooze makes things a little more interesting.
Yeah, he's a spicy number for sure. You might want to. Alrighty.
What
That's
the hell?
And Revoker.
Oh!
Handle the Scavenging Ooze. Yeah.
I mean, a 4/4 is
eat
still
some
formidable.
Stuff while
but...
you can. Yeah, but it's just not going to last. I mean,
No.
these Overseers are going to be able to. Each time you tap it, you're putting an additional 4 damage on your side.
Right.
So it's each turn it's 8. I mean, that's just going to get out of hand.
It's pretty sick. Adrian just has so many options right now. And Step, big up you boys.
Do we even have enough dice to handle this? We do. Look at this. They came prepared. I think Adrian could push the limits, though, for sure.
Yeah.
All of this off of 2 lands. One of them is Workshop.
Pretty exciting. I mean, he has to handle this the right way. He can't just... I don't know if he makes an attack this turn. But, I mean, you know, wait 1 turn. Beef it up even more.
It's tempting to, so it's interesting because it's tempting to just sit back until you have a sure thing, but
Kyle
Hercules
can draw
recall
Hercules recalls,
completely,
another Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, I mean Hercules would be lethal. Hercules would get rid of those blockers, and it would
and
also
the Revoker, so he could pump up his.
Yep. So
his ooze.
He's got at least the Snapcaster and Deathrite on his side of the board.
Skull Clamp.
Really good. That's really good.
So you can suit up the Ravager, sacrifice to add counters to something, or suit up anything and sacrifice, really.
I think you're looking at an attack here, for sure. If you keep 1 back, you can definitely ship the counters over with the Ravager. So if you only keep 1 back, you could potentially die to removal, but they have to have 2 removal spells, right? Because it's a lethal attack. So.
And he's got 2 active Steel Overseers if he chooses not to Alpha Strike.
Yep. Yeah, really, really interesting spot. Only real decision here is what does Kyle have in his hand? With perfect information, very easy to figure out.
Yeah.
With that question mark, you really need to decide how much risk you want to take on and what you think the bigger risk is. Getting blown out by the card in his hand or getting blown out by him drawing Hercules Recall or any card that lets him get Hercules. Keep in mind, he has 6 mana on board, so if he draws a Demonic Tutor, he could Demonic Tutor for Jace even. I mean, he's got tons and tons of options.
I mean, and Adrian's got to be careful not to sacrifice the Revoker, because Kyle has access to 4 green sources right now, so he could start gaining life.
Absolutely.
Throw off the math.
Effectively 3 for this turn.
This turn.
Later on, that other green source would be able to recoup the life loss from fetching.
Mm-hmm.
So Kyle could potentially get to 13 life if he really, really needed to. We can see there's plenty of creatures in the graveyard. This has been quite a slugfest. Really mulling it over, trying to figure it out. We don't know what else is in Adrian's hand, but without any extra mana, it largely doesn't matter.
Not this turn.
Yeah, this may be the turn. I mean, in the least, I think Ravager can get in there.
Yeah. Oh,
so
everybody.
He's just going for it.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's just going for the throat here. Just looking at sacrificing the blocked guys, shipping the counters over to the guys that are unblocked, because he's got 4, 5, 6, 7.
He's not going to end up drawing the cards off of the Skull Clamp though, because if he wants to maximize his +1/+1 counters, he has to sacrifice the Skull Clamp before he sacrifices the Ravager, and the Ravager happens to be equipped. So
yeah, I mean,
it's all in.
See what he decides to do here. He's looking to just trade there. Yeah, he's just happy with just happy getting the 2 cards and shipping the counters over post combat.
Okay.
Just being in a totally dominant position.
That seems fine.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any other way Kyle could have played that effectively. Adrian was able to force the move.
He puts it on the biggest guy.
And there's the misstep there.
Awesome. So Adrian Becker taking it down. I don't know if he necessarily gets first place though, based off tiebreakers. I remember this was a pretty interesting top 4. I don't think there were any 4-0s.
No, it was a real slugfest. Total logjam at the top. I think it was 4 X1s. So it ended up coming down to some tiebreakers. We're looking forward to our Saturday event on October 26th. That's going to be a regular full day type event where we're going to have a top 8 at the end of the Swiss rounds. So there's going to be no debating who the winner is there. They'll be able to fight until there's only one man left standing if they decide to go that route. And it's the weekend before Champs, so perfect place to get the testing in. I think a lot of archetypes are going to be represented, and probably going to have some of the best players in New England showing up to get in that really important practice before the big show.
Oh yeah, very exciting. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching. I'd like to once again thank Dave and Scholars Books and Games for hosting this excellent event. Thank TheEndStep for showing up and making this coverage and this video happen. Thank Eric for organizing the tournament, really getting things going, doing a lot for the Vintage Eternal community, and for joining us for the coverage.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was a blast. I was nowhere near the top tables this event. I was busy buying and selling cards as I was playing, so I was surprised by all of this stuff. I enjoyed it a lot, and I hope you all did too.
All right.